Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Engage, Veteran Professionals. My name is Cesar Melgarejo. I'm Governor Sandoval's Veterans Policy Analyst, as well as one of the founding members of Engage and the Nevada Veterans Alumni Chapter. First, I want to thank our honored guests, and I want to thank Governor Sandoval for allowing us to host this event and have us here today. Second, I want to thank Mayor Robert Kroll, who has honored us here today to be our keynote speaker. And we have Richard Black, who joins us as our veteran introductory speaker. I also want to thank our SVA, Student Veteran of America presidents for our local chapters. We have Felipe Gutierrez from UNR, we have Jeff Kern from TMCC, and we have Joe Alton from WNC. And I want to thank all of you for attending this event here today. I know we have a lot of familiar faces, as well as a lot of new faces out there today. And lastly, I want to acknowledge our WNC student veterans who have sat all the way at the back corner for some reason. but I want to thank them for everything they do here for this community. And I know Kevin Burns and the mayor can also attest to everything that they do for this community with our local veterans chapters, our DAV and VBA, and our VFW chapters.
Thanks for coming to Carson, Caesar.
Yeah, we usually host this event in Reno, but finally we're able to find a great location, so we finally came down to Carson. Alright, we have a lot of new familiar faces, so I want to just give a quick introduction of what Engage is. So Engage began with a small group of veterans meeting to discuss how we can best address the needs of today's veterans. We immediately understood that we as a community faced a landscape where we needed to change the narrative of veterans as victims and instead advance the narrative of veterans as assets in our community. Engage is a venue where veterans can showcase their leadership, providing an opportunity for veterans to reassert ourselves as leaders in our community through continued service. Engage is a place where veterans are encouraged to drive the conversation through direct engagement with their community while at the same time growing as professionals. After the first year of the event series, and as the original group of veterans became newly minted members of the professional community, another change emerged from what our network had started. Those successfully transitioned veterans wanted to continue to pave the road to success for their peers, as well as oncoming generations of veterans who have only just or will soon begin their transition. We then saw an opportunity to integrate the pride and professionalism of being a veteran with the pride and professionalism of being a Nevada alumnus. So in 2015, we founded the Nevada Veterans Alumni Chapter and brought with us this new networking venue so that we as alumni could help mentor the current population of student veterans, not just at UNR, but across all campuses. Our mission is to create mentorship opportunities to foster professional growth, build a network of veterans, employers, and resources in order to place our membership in key employment and leadership positions, leverage the success of ourselves and our peers by showcasing our talents to our community and building the strongest and most successful veteran population in the nation. And then lastly, I want to give just a quick introduction to somebody who's not only my boss, so please plug like but somebody who has really paved the way to our success over the last couple of years. He did this simply by making veterans issues a top priority in the state. So without further ado, everybody please welcome Governor Brian Sandoval.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm really happy that you're all here. And Caesar said something about it's good to come to my house, and this is the people's house. And I remind people over and over again that this house, this mansion, this Nevada room belongs to the people of Nevada. And I just have the privilege and honor of residing here for a very brief time. So it really makes me happy and proud when you're able to host events, but especially to host an event that features our veterans. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your service and your selfless sacrifice to our country. Thank you. Now, some of you in this room have heard me say it many times, and Caesar alluded to it. It is my goal for Nevada to be the most veteran and military-friendly state in the nation. Yeah. And I mean that. And I've always had a profound respect for the men and women of the military. My grandfather served in World War II. My father served during the Korean conflict. And as governor, and so I've grown up kind of in that atmosphere. But as governor, in 2011, I was into my term about 8 months, and I had the opportunity to join a governor's delegation to Afghanistan. We went to Iraq and Kuwait, and we spent a week there, and we visited 4 of the bases in Afghanistan. We were in Kunduz, Kabul, Kandahar, and Bagram, and also, as I said, in Kuwait and then Iraq. And it made an impression, an indelible impression on me to see all of you and see the men and women serving in a faraway place in the most extreme conditions imaginable. And I remember getting on one of those troop transport C-130s. And I guess you all laugh because you've been there. But being as naive as I was, but these planes had sat out there on the tarmac in 120-degree weather, so they were probably 135 inside. And there were a couple of National Guard groups that boarded. We were sitting face to face, on those canvas seats with the seat belts, and just sweat pouring down. And I watched, first I watched the crew, and then I watched those men and women board in their full gear. And they all sat down. No one said a word. There wasn't one complaint. Shoulders up, proud, and sitting a little bit further down from me was this young lady. She was probably 5'2", 100 pounds at most, with everything on. And next to her was a gentleman that was solid gray, and who knows how old he was, but definitely a lot older than her. She couldn't have been more than 21 or 22. And it really showed me the diversity and the strength of our military. And as I said, everyone got on there, and no one said a word. Everyone was listening to music, praying, doing what they did on their own time. But it just made me so proud as a governor. And at that moment, and some of the other moments along during that trip, I made a solemn promise and a commitment to myself, because I have a unique opportunity as the governor of the state of Nevada to make a difference. And that every day, every single day, I will wake up and try to find a way and think of a way to make things better for the men and women of our military, not only while they're serving, but when they come home and they're finished with their service. So, as governor, things come up, as I said, on a daily basis. And I recall getting a phone call, and there was a military family in Las Vegas at Nellis Air Force Base, and they had been relocated to Nellis. And they had a son or daughter, I can't recall which, who was attending a local high school, was an honor student, was going to be graduating from high school, and should have been eligible for the Millennium Scholarship. All of you know what the Millennium Scholarship is. If you graduate from Nevada High School with a 3.2 average or above, the state will pay almost half of your tuition. Well, this young man or young lady was told that she wasn't eligible merely because their family was in the military and they had moved here and therefore had not been a Nevada resident for a year, had not attended Nevada High School for a year. And I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. And so we immediately made a change so that student and every student thereafter, if there's a military family that relocates to the great state of Nevada and their students are eligible, regardless of where they were or how long they've been here, they will be eligible for that Millennium Scholarship, and that will make a difference in that child's life. Another example that legislation that we passed is, again, I want the veterans here. I'm selfish. I want all of you to stay here, to live here, to work here, to raise your families here, to do whatever it is. And so we made a change for the Nevada universities so that regardless of where you're from, that if you are within 5 years of separation of your military service, you will be eligible for in-state tuition at a Nevada college or university. That was incredibly important. Finally, and I could go on, there are more, but these were the first three that came to mind, but these are the types of things I learn about when that proverbial phone call comes. But again, we learned about a family that had relocated to Nellis Air Force Base, and the military spouse was a professional and had approached the specific professional board in the state of Nevada about licensure, and was told, well, you're from out of state, it's going to take at least a year for you to go through that processing, which again, I thought was absurd. And so we were able to adopt legislation that allows for immediate provisional licensure for military spouses so that they can go to work immediately instead of having to wait that time period. And so that makes it easier on a military family instead of that spouse having to wait and wait and wait for, I guess I'm giving myself a hard time, but that state bureaucracy to get done. But so as I said, those are three examples, and finally I have a reminder in my office, and the mayor and I were just talking about this. And when I was elected governor, there's a big wall in the governor's office, and it was blank. And I wanted to put something up there that was really inspirational, and when visitors came to the governor's office, that they would be impressed. And so we looked, and I thought maybe this big Nevada landscape, that would be something great, and we really couldn't find something that was suitable. And so I'm a big historian, I love Nevada history, went and visited the storage because they wouldn't give me anything at the museum, but went to the storage for the Nevada State Museum. And as I looked around, we really couldn't find anything, and suddenly I looked, and on a back wall, there was this massive wheel, ship's wheel. And I thought, well, this is strange. You know, here we are in Carson City in the middle of the desert, and the ship's wheel is leaning against the wall. And I asked the question, well, what's that? And the person from the museum said, well, that's the original ship's wheel from the USS Nevada. And for all of you who don't know the story of the USS Nevada, I mean, that was a very proud battleship that was the only one to get underway at Pearl Harbor. And was that the invasion of Normandy? Was that Iwo Jima? Was that Okinawa? And I said, you've got to be kidding me. I had an extra word or two in there, but so long story short, we were able to get that ship's wheel. It is now mounted behind my desk at the Capitol. And every time people come in there, I tell them the story of the USS Nevada. We just celebrated the centennial of the USS Nevada, and another one of my proud moments as governor is there was a gentleman who was on deck at Pearl Harbor up there in a crow's nest. His name was Charles Sagan, and we're pen pals now. And again, one of those moments. So we had a very nice ceremony. Behind the Capitol there is a memorial to the USS Nevada. We also have the original ship's bell, which is in the governor's mansion, but we brought it out for Mr. Sagan. And he just reminded me of this story in a card that he had wrote me, that he had his shipmates that he sat with at mess every time they ate, and there were 8 of them at this table. And he told the story how they were eating when the call came for Pearl Harbor and the attack. And they all got up and went to their battle stations and their duty stations, and only 3 of them came back. And so at this ceremony, not just a few short weeks ago, he rang that bell 5 times in honor of those friends that he had lost that day. And again, that was another reminder for me. And if you saw the emotion in his face, and it brought me back right there, and I see, you know, the mayor thinking about that, it really was a moment. And so, as I said, I I hope you can understand how I feel about you and how I appreciate you and how the people of the state of Nevada appreciate you, the importance of this program, Engage, and I want to thank all of you that are involved in it and are committing your time, because not only have you given of yourselves for your country and active service now as veterans, you're continuing to help those. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of mentorship. I mean, I was someone who was blessed. I'm just a kid who grew up in Sparks, Nevada, and I raised sheep, and we lived out in the country. No politicians in our family, no prominent folks in our family, and some of you have heard me tell this joke. My first job was cleaning sheep pens, and I said it's good practice for what I do now. But in any event, when I was in college, I had a profound respect again for the military and for history and for America, and I thought, boy, what an opportunity, because I had heard a friend of mine had served as an intern in Washington, D.C. And so I just threw out an application to be an intern for Paul Laxalt, Senator Paul Laxalt, in 1984. They didn't know me from Adam. Again, I didn't have somebody who was a friend who had access or anything like that. And I got chosen. And I couldn't believe it, because there were only 3 or 4 people statewide that were chosen for that. And when I got there, and I got to meet the senator, and if you know the senator's background, his family was Basque sheep herders right here in this area. And when I asked, why me? Because the others were pretty prominent people, and he said, "Are you kidding me? You're a sheep herder, just like me." So you never know. You never know. But the point being is, he has been one of the strongest mentors in my life and throughout my entire professional and political career, and that's what you are as well, as mentors to folks. And you stand behind them, you stand with them, and you lead them. And you get them to that door, and they find their way through that door, and they find new paths to success. And so you never know what that little bit of advice or that little bit of support or that little bit of encouragement is going to do. And that's what I think Engage is all about. And for all of you employers and those of you that are from our colleges and universities, I want to thank you as well for your commitment to our veterans, because again, we're all in this together. I talk about the Nevada family, and we take care of our own. So I'll leave you with just another profound thanks and appreciation for what you all do. And as I said, make yourself, this is your house, so you can almost do everything you want. But it really is a proud moment for me, and just know I have the privilege of serving 2 more years, and I'm going to continue to do whatever I can as the governor of this great state to again help, assist, show my appreciation, show my thanks for the men and women of the military. So God bless you. God bless the great state of Nevada. God bless the United States of America, the greatest nation on earth. Thank you.